Thank you, everybody. This is my colleague, Sophie Belec-Cross, our head of sales. Many of you may know her. She is on the phone with the world at all times. So I'll let her introduce our panel, and we'll kick this off.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for the patience. Appreciate all of you who are sticking around for the panel. So today we're going to be talking about the future of global mobility and where we're headed. So really interesting and dynamic panel that we have today. We have Bullride, we have OFO, Element, everything in between. We have Äike now, formerly Cofounder. And then we also have a personal favorite, Bicelo. So I just in terms of where we're headed today, I would love to give everyone maybe a few seconds just to introduce yourselves. So Trond, I'll start with you.
So yeah, I used to work in radio, then I went into tech, and from tech it went into peer-to-peer and actually financing. So we actually came up with a model where we actually allow companies to scale quicker. And what we do actually is we finance your fleets in mobility. Could be cars, could be bikes, could be scooters, could be boats even. And please come over to me afterwards and I'll chat about it. All right?
I'm Sean Flood. I'm the co-founder of EFO Ventures. We're a mobility-focused VC studio. I was a founder of an operated company for 15 years, way before mobility was as cool and trendy as it is today. Excited to chat.
Great.
I'm Kristjan, co-founder of Co-Module that connects bikes and scooters to the internet. We've been doing that for the past 8 years, so we're dinosaurs. I had this feeling today that basically everybody who are here after we were here. We were there before it was called Micromobility. It's so cool what's going on now. Yeah, we've connected around 500,000 vehicles to the internet with our partners, our customers. And when this scooter boom happened in 2018-19, that was rock and roll for us because we were the only company in the world that had an industrial solution to connect scooters to the internet. So we saw it super close, and then we saw how badly these scooters were made. As engineers, we started to bleed from our eyes, and then we decided to build better scooters. So today I'm actually here sitting as Äike, so we build scooters for sharing and also for end consumers in Europe. We're the only one outside China.
And I'm Jakob, and I'm the co-founder of Bicelo that Nick presented. We do e-bike rental at hotels across a couple of markets in Europe. I have a background both from the bicycle industry, running a direct-to-consumer bicycle brand in Sweden, and then I also have some background in ad tech, and now I kind of combine those two into the new Bicelo venture. Yep.
Great, thank you so much. So Sean, I'll start with you. So you're obviously a veteran in our industry, in our very new industry, ranging from being an operator to going into investing into operators and now obviously doing manufacturing with Element. So I'd love to hear more from you where you see the industry headed, given all of your past experience.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, like you mentioned, I've been in the industry for a very long time, and it's kind of grown up around us. I think there's a few misconceptions. One is that we're toward the end, not the beginning. And I think we're very much at the beginning of the industry, mainly led by mass adoption. I also think, maybe contrary to a lot of popular beliefs, that the future will still have big operators, and those are great, but I think there's becoming this real sense of localness, and as technology and hardware and things become more readily available, you've got operators at a local level who are creating individual businesses, and then they're able to focus on profitability. So I think the future is actually pretty exciting, and I think it really is going to be driven by smaller operators who care about this local market, and I think that's what moves kind of transit forward.
I couldn't agree more.
Fingers crossed.
So Trond, obviously you have some beginnings as well in operations and pivoted over to, other than your past in radio.
Well, I'll say that, the whole part of that was actually something that we had no idea what we wanted to do. And I'm kind of the person that also likes to prove a concept, and I did that with my partners. So we kind of thought, right, we have an idea, we think this can work. How do we actually prove it? Well, okay, we have to start, and we started as an operator, because there are, well, as Andrew pointed out, it's difficult in the beginning, and if you're going to split that money up, you better make sure you do it correctly. And many of you will think that, well, if I'm going to, let's say, pay for a loan or actually give away a lot of my money, that's going to be a lot of my revenue. But the truth is, you're also going to pay a lot to actually get those scooters. Or scooters or bikes, whatever it is, right? So that was kind of the idea, okay, how do we actually make it as the best way to actually be able to scale? Because it's good to be able to run local operations, and I actually do believe local operations is the solution. However, the local operations in my world could mean from, let's say, 50 bikes to, let's say, 500 or 600, right? Because I think it's probably better to go for, let's say, smaller places where you have like a hub, and then you can actually run it from that hub. But of course, it could also mean a town. I mean, well, I'm from the Nordics, so a town with 20,000 people, that's a decent town for us, which is like a very small place in other countries. So that's kind of the reason for it.
Okay, great. And what are some of the deciding factors when you're speaking to operators to vet them in order to decide whether or not you would give them financing?
An asset is expensive either way, right?
Right.
So for them actually to be able not to have that on their balance sheets, it's brilliant from the day one, right?
Right.
And I mean, obviously, we're doing this to make profit ourselves, but that's the whole point. Everybody in the chain has to make a profit. If not, it's not going to be successful. And the last thing that we want is for an operator not to be profitable. If they're not profitable, well, we're not going to be happy, and the investors will not be happy. So it all has to add up.
And the operators won't be happy either.
No, and then we don't make money, do we? So,
That's right.
No.
So Kristjan, obviously, you've also been in this space a long time. You self-described yourself as a dinosaur. Your words, not mine. So one thing that you touched on was manufacturing in Europe as opposed to China or Asia, as many others do. What was the leading decision to make that kind of a decision?
I mean, the leading decision to start manufacturing ourselves was just that the product out there was so badly made.
Yeah.
And I think the goals were really not aligned. I mean, all the big scooter sharing companies only cared about growth, right? Chinese manufacturers just cared about selling more. Nobody really cared about the product to last, because they didn't want to show profitability. They just wanted to show that they can buy more and grow more. So it was really these early days where we just saw it just doesn't make sense. So we decided to make it our own, and I don't know, we never thought that we would do it somewhere else, because I think what really matters in the end is vertical integration. It's the knowledge that you put into it. That's how you create a better product. And we actually also created our own sharing system to test the product. So you build a scooter, you put them out into your own sharing in your own city where your factory is. They're circulating, people are testing them. In the evening, you can bring them back in and you see what happened with them. So you basically take the hardware product, development iteration level to the same level of software, which you can deploy every Friday, basically. So I think we've now been doing that for basically 2 seasons. And it's been, absolutely fantastic. The knowledge you get from being a small operator and then, producing and designing and producing the product, it's just a full circle. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time to be vertically integrated, but I just think it has huge value in the end. And I mean, being in Europe and building a product for European people to be used, I think that's the only way you can really, really do well. And if you look, the most successful companies in the world, whether they're Apple or Tesla, they're really vertically integrated companies. Yeah. So I think, that's our motivation.
That's amazing. So you also have a big news more recently, and we actually had one of your vehicles at our booth. So do you want to tell us more about Äike?
Yeah,
if I'm saying that right, I think it means thunder, I heard.
It's correct. It's called Äike. It's an Estonian word for thunder. We just thought that, if IKEA has managed to have these dotted letters all around in shops and everybody's talking about it, we'll go all in with it as well. Because we're Nordic and, we're really local. So we didn't want to have an English name to it. But yeah, what we did was that we actually span it out. So it's now a separate brand. Äike builds scooters for other operators, but also for end consumers. So this is our first generation product here. We're launching our new sharing scooter in around a month at the Eurobike event. But in 6th of July, we're already launching our new product for the end consumer. So we're kind of taking both of them. Again, people might say that why you try to do everything. But I mean, if you're like in it, you have the same core technologies, the same base technology, then you really, start seeing how things happen, and then you're like, why shouldn't I do both of them? Because, we're in this event, and you're a software for sharing, and this event is mainly about sharing, but there's around maybe 200,000 scooters that go into sharing in Europe per year, and there's around 2.5 to 3 million scooters that go to people owning them. So it's like a 10x difference. So ownership is still a big thing, although we're always talking a lot about different business models and sharing. So yeah, Äike is a new brand for scooters.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So Jakob, obviously with Bicelo, you started out as being more of a bicycle brand and then moved on from that into really targeting hotels and, very unique in this space and within some of our clientele as well as focusing more on that B2B model. So working closely with hotels in the space, started out in Sweden, moved out into Italy and Greece, as Nick went over in detail for you guys, but would love to hear more about your decision of pivoting into the B2B side of things as opposed to B2C.
I mean, it all started when we were running a bicycle brand in Sweden, as I said. We would get requests from hotels to buy bicycles from us, and it never really turned out well for anyone because they came to us and they wanted a discount. We were a small brand, we gave a discount, and the bike that it was a premium bike, but it was not made for rentals. So it would break down, and then the hotel they had no clue, or they didn't want to, do the maintenance and the service. And there was also an issue with, just the rental process of keeping keys in the reception, signing the deposit agreements, taking payments, and so on. So at one point we said, no more selling bikes to hotels. And then we were like, oh, look, maybe there's an opportunity here when we saw the scooters kind of flood the streets of Stockholm. So then we came with a full service solution and said, let's produce a bike specifically made for hotel rentals. Let's also connect, with a platform that can solve the rental process. And let's say we do all the maintenance and all the repairs. So that's kind of how we, pivoted from selling bicycles to renting bicycles. And also the very long lead times for producing bicycles makes it a little bit more interesting today to kind of rent them out instead of, selling, produce more, selling. So yeah.
And where do you see the future evolving to in this space?
Well, I think that if you look at cities like Copenhagen, for example, and even Amsterdam that are, super bike friendly, obviously regular bikes has been common at hotels for a long time. And what we see now is that more cities across Europe are becoming more bike friendly, meaning that we see that there will probably be a bigger demand for bikes, and especially e-bikes, since that market is growing, at hotels as well. And we can also see that some of the vacation destinations that we are at now, both the hotels and also the guests, they rather move from renting an e-bike to maybe renting a car because it's more eco-friendly, and think people are thinking about that these days. So yeah, so we think the future looks bright.
Amazing. And just to wrap everything up on the topic of e-bikes, I've been hearing, and I know of the new Element bike, the Core Plus, which I'm really excited to see hit the streets. But Sean, do you want to give us a bit more information on Element and where you guys are headed?
Core Plus is available on Joyride now for any operators looking fully integrated. So kind of very similarly, I come from the shared background, and we had spent so much time as an operator designing product, and especially as supply chain issues came about, every operator I talked to, big and small, one didn't like the product that they were getting, and then the product that they didn't like they couldn't get. So we wanted to fix that. So we stood up Element with a team of people who designed product as an operator for other operators. So our booth is the result of that, and it's been well received. I think, one, because it's quality, and two, it's available for people to buy, which typically drives the market. So.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you to all of our panelists. Really appreciate everyone sticking around for this. And like you said, future looks bright. Let's bring mobility to everyone's doorstep. Yeah.